Hey, it's Faith Talk Live. I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
We have not talked to this guy in a while, but friends are friends forever. It's Jack Eason right there if you're watching Facebook Live and YouTube Live. Jack, how are you?
Hey, good to see you, Rick and Dan. How's it going?
We're doing well. That is not Michael W. Smith you see on your screen. That is Jack Eason. We were just talking about how he looks like Michael W. Smith, and he said he's heard that a few times, right?
I have it. Again, it hasn't helped me financially, but maybe one day.
We're going to talk.
Maybe write a song. Maybe that'll.
That's it.
That's what you need to. If I remember right, correct me if I'm wrong, but you used to be in a band.
I did. That seems like another lifetime ago, but yeah, for about 10 years, it was fun. It was fun. Got to actually connect with Smitty on one event. So obviously, I must have not been good at it because I'm not doing that anymore.
But I just want to tell you, the guys in Striper miss you a lot, Jack.
Well, they continued on successfully without me.
You just wouldn't wear the spandex, would you? That was the problem.
That's where I drew the line. The black and yellow was okay, but the spandex, no.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
That's funny. That is a blast from the past, isn't it?
It is.
Jack Eason is a speaker and pastor and also an author. The Loneliness Solution is a book that he released in October. Hope for Our Troubled Times. I didn't realize this, Jack. Now we've run into you over the last 3, 4, maybe 5 years. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize your wife writes fiction. Is that true?
Yeah, she is. Man, I can't keep up with her. She's up to 60 some books, I think.
Wow.
And cranking out three a year almost. This is my first one. So after this one, I have much more respect for her. It's like, how in the world? I can't imagine. I could maybe crank out 3 that you could color in. As far as actually having type, that's a different story. She's doing well.
Wow.
Well, this book is about doing life with others. What gave you the idea and following you on Facebook, not stalking you on Facebook, but following you on Facebook, I do see that you connect with so many people on so many levels. So it's important. Relationships are huge to you. But how do you do life with others? Kind of define that.
Yeah, that's a great question, Rick. Really, it's funny because a lot of people have asked me over the last few months, wow, it was smart of you to write a book like this during the pandemic. I wish I was that smart. I actually turned the manuscript in last October of 19. So I had no idea the pandemic was coming. Loneliness, the reality and scary part is loneliness was an issue before COVID. It'll be an issue after COVID. Especially among, millennials, Gen Z, even this next generation who ironically are the most connected on the planet technology-wise. But I just had a heart for community. I mean, you guys have seen it. We've seen it in ministry. We've seen it in the power of what people who listen to Faith Talk Live can do in their community when they work together. And so I just had a burden for people to really experience the power of community. I try to hang out around a lot of 20-somethings, I guess, to keep myself young. And I just got tired of hearing so many of them just say, I just wish I had community. I wish I had community. I'm thinking, wow, you're the most connected of any generation, yet you don't feel like you have real community.
Yeah.
Because there is a benefit and blessing to community. I really think that's how God wired us in the first place.
Mm-hmm. And it just seems like such an oxymoron that you are in community, yet you are lonely. How do we get to that point where even though we have a community, we're lonely?
Yeah, and some people good question, Dan. Some people confuse the words lonely and alone. I don't know how you guys are, but I'm around people a lot. And so I actually like to be alone sometimes. I get tired of people sometimes. Yeah. So being alone is kind of a choice that we make. I mean, even Jesus chose to be alone for a time or two. But loneliness is different. I mean, I can be hanging out in a room full of people and feel lonely.
Right.
And I've asked people we all have felt that way, but I've asked, especially that age group we were just talking about, describe how you feel. And I've heard them describe it like, I feel like I'm in a sea and I'm drowning and I'm shouting out for help, but nobody's listening, or I'm in a cardboard box and I can't get out. So there's this overwhelming feeling of not being connected. So it is different than being alone, that you can be in a coffee shop full of people, which a lot of people do nowadays, and sitting around a table with people and still feel lonely.
Jack Eason, the loneliness solution. So what is the solution? What have you got for us?
Give away the book.
Yeah. Well, you got to buy the book. No. And that's the rest of the story. We'll talk about that next week. No, I think the solution is pretty simple. It doesn't mean it's easy. Those are two words I think we get interchanged, and they don't mean the same thing. It's simple, but it's not necessarily easy. I think the simple solution is community. It's finding real relationships and real friendships. I think the hard part is overcoming maybe the misconceptions of what that is, especially again with the younger generation. I was talking to a 20-something the other day, and he's like, you got to keep in mind, I've never not known the internet.
Mm-hmm.
I've never not known the kind of social media that I use all the time. And in a sense, I said to him, I said, well, that maybe has defined friendship for you incorrectly, because you can add and subtract friends now at will with a mouse click.
Mm-hmm.
And you may have 3,000 Facebook friends, but how many of those are going to show up at your house at 2 a.m. if you have an emergency? You know, for me, it might be 6 or 7 people out of the however many thousands I've got on Facebook. So culture has kind of messed with our mind a little bit about what that really means. He went on to say, well, the community you're talking about, I've already kind of been there and done that, got the T-shirt. And I said, I got a question for you, man. I said, have you ever gone to a restaurant where you had bad service? He's like, well, yeah, of course. I said, do you not go out to eat anymore? No, of course I go out to eat. I still go out. I said the same thing is true of community. We have to be in pursuit of community and then make an investment to find real community, because it takes time to build those relationships. I think, again, just real quick, culture pushes us into misconceptions too. I left my house the other morning. I took out some dry cleaning. I got breakfast. I went by the bank. Got a prescription filled. I never got out of my car, because everything was just boom, 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 boom. And we think friendships are supposed to happen that way. Doesn't happen. We've got to be willing to invest time and energy. My granddaddy used to say it this way: you spell love Time.
Yeah.
And if we want real friendship, we've got to, and real community, which is the solution to loneliness, we got to be willing to make an investment.
That's a great insight, because I think of my kids as you're talking about that. I think of my kids. One of them especially was very introverted, and when she was in school, she would always say, "Well, I didn't have anybody to sit with at lunch. I couldn't make any friends." And I said, "Well, it turns out she would sit there and just expect the friendship to happen, and it doesn't happen that way. You got to actually pour into it and give it some effort as well, right?"
Yeah, you do, and you got to push against culture. And which in our crazy world is hard, especially right now with COVID. We've got to get creative. We can connect. Technology is a gift, I think. I'm not saying throw out technology. I love technology, but especially now with a lot of restrictions around the country. Get online and do like what we're doing today, with 4 or 5 friends, pray together, encourage one another. You have to be a little more aggressive with what's going on right now. But it can be done, and look for opportunities. We had a storm come through our community a few months back, and we knew this elderly lady where the trees had fallen down in her yard. We knew she wasn't going to be able to afford to get a company to come in and clean it up. So a guy in our neighborhood put out on Facebook, using social media in a good way, "Hey, if you got a chainsaw, let's meet down there at 8 a.m. Saturday. We're going to clean this up." Next thing you know, there's 20 guys, don't know each other, but we're having community and fellowship in this lady's yard, cutting up some trees. And some of us are still getting together now, weeks later, for coffee every week just to hang out. So You got to be looking for those opportunities, and just be aware that God is up to something. He's the author of community. It was his idea from the very beginning of creation. So he's providing opportunities if we'll just open our eyes and look for them.
Yep.
That is so good. It's so simple. I think we overthink things, right? We think, we have to have A, and then we have to have B, and then we'll get C. But the thing was, there was a need. Somebody put it on Facebook, and 20 guys. That's amazing.
Yeah. We just got to look and keep our eyes open and be intentional about it. The benefits of community are worth pursuing it. And some of those communities are, like I talked about with the guys with the chainsaws. Some of it is the ability to meet other people's needs. I mean, you're not going to experience that outside of community. You may have your needs met. You may also be the person to get to meet somebody else's needs, to pray together. Wow, what a powerful thing. All this I talk about in the book that are the benefits of real community. but you got to be willing to make an investment.
Jack Eason, the book is, I just missed your paper there. The book is called The Loneliness Solution, Hope for Our Troubled Times. What's next for you, Jack? I know we talked to you a little earlier about writing another book. I think you're going to kind of wait on that. But
the coloring book, I think it's a great idea. The loneliness coloring book. You can just interact with that.
2020 sold 2 copies if you guys will both buy one.
I'll buy one.
2021. What does that look like for Jack Eason?
You know, I'm hoping to, again, in my own life, keep building community. Lord willing, I've got a team. We're headed to Malawi, Africa, in March to do some community building there in a village called Magoe. And then a lot of speaking in the spring. Again, if things open up, they'll be in person. If they don't, they'll be virtual. So doing a lot of speaking on college campuses where this issue of loneliness is a big deal. I mean, you think again, real quick about that age group, a lot of them, new school, new friends, new city, maybe a new job, part-time job, a lot of new things. That age group especially struggles with this whole issue. So a lot of traveling. Hopefully I'll see people out on the road, and I'd love to come to your area. If you are interested in having me come in, just to reach out online. I'd love to catch up.
You can do that through jackeason.org. There it is right there to get the spell. It's very easy to spell. Ease on. Just think of it that way. Right. jackeason.org. And you can get the book there, right? Or you can get the book. Where else can you get it, Jack?
Yeah, absolutely. Everywhere books are sold. Amazon, of course, is a great way to get it. If you go online, though, there's a lot of free resources to get you connected, a lot of videos, podcasts, and things like that about this whole issue of community. So encourage you to check it out at jackeason.org.
Awesome. Jack, we'd love to talk to you in March, maybe before or after you go to Malawi, and just see what's up there, and then catch up on the book. Yeah, and the family. And how's Will? How's our buddy Will, who is probably 30 and has kids now?
Close. No, he is 20. Talk about technologically savvy. You know, I was looking for some names of some folks online, and he said, "Dad, I can write a script and have it just search the web for everything that you need." I'm thinking, very good. You do that.
I'm not paying you for it, though.
That's right. You're way above my head when it comes to technology, but he's doing great. Family's doing great. And yeah, I would love to circle back with you in March and give you an update on what's happening in Africa.
Sounds great. Hey, follow Jack, read his book, definitely. And he's not just another pretty face. JackEason.org. He speaks, he preaches, he visits other countries, he writes, he does it all. So check him out. We got to take a break. We'll be right back. I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
This is Faith Talk Live.